tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
I pray for my people. It's a freedom of everything they want.
As the attacks between Israel and Iran intensify, BC's Iranian diaspora watched the developments with bated breath. Plus,
when you're the south, southern Ontario, southern Nova Scotia, middle of Nova Scotia, 70-80%. It's kind of appalling.
they're small, creepy crawlies that sometimes carry disease. Why ticks are appearing in more locations across Canada. And
to have the Abbey Canucks doing as well as they're doing, it's great, and everyone wants tickets. Everyone wants to be there.
there's a buzz in the air among hockey fans as the Abbotsford Canucks head to the Calder Cup playoffs.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Janella Hamilton. Prime Minister Mark Carney is calling on all parties to move toward a diplomatic resolution following Israel's attack on Iranian nuclear sites and military leadership. Iran has described the attack as a declaration of war, firing missiles at Israel in retaliation. As Mira Baines reports, loved ones in Canada are watching the conflict closely.
Watching tensions rise in the Middle East from Toronto, Amir Mohammed Mubarki, a recent immigrant from Iran, is focused on his family back home.
I was trying to contact them. They're okay, but all I'm thinking is them.
At this Iranian bakery in Vancouver, Israel's attacks bring fear but also hope.
I pray for my people. It's a freedom of everything they want. My feeling today, it's hope the government, Iranian government goes.
Shame! Many Iranians left the country after the 1979 revolution and remain opposed to the Islamic Republic, and they want change.
The war can make the regime go away. Otherwise, they want to stay there and do anything they want.
Concerns are also growing for people who have family and friends in Israel now that Iran is striking back.
I don't think anybody wants to go through what they're going through. Many of us have children in Israel or family in Israel, and so we always have that concern. But what to do?
And some fear tensions here could spill over in this country.
There's concern for the safety and well-being of the Jewish community here in Canada, given the Iranian regime's history of targeting Jewish communities around the world.
Back at that Toronto grocery store, a sentiment we heard from so many here in Canada.
I wish everything ends soon. We just want peace as people.
Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
A former Lower Mainland real estate agent is under investigation by BC's real estate regulator after his name allegedly turned up last year as the tenant for multiple properties linked to a major Vancouver police gang investigation. Jason Proctor has more.
This is a story that begins here last May when Vancouver police raided a unit in this building as part of an investigation into a Quebec-based gang called Zone 43. Now, they raided several places that day, and according to court documents, they noticed something odd. The person listed as the tenant on all these suites was Kuhn Michael Lee, who was at that time a licensed real estate agent and driving coach. So, the VPD reached out to the regulator that oversees BC's real estate industry to let them know about this, sending a total of 6 addresses where Kuhn Michael Lee was listed as a tenant and where either the Burnaby RCMP or Vancouver police had investigated allegations of criminal activity, including, in one case, a stray bullet fired from one of the units into a neighboring suite. Lee hasn't been charged with any offenses in connection with the police files or the regulator's investigation, which is detailed in this search warrant. CBC's also obtained Supreme Court records in cases filed by 5 landlords who sued to enforce orders evicting Lee from their properties. According to the search warrants, the various homeowners told the regulator they believed Lee would be living in the units himself or that a relative might live there. Some people said they believed he would rent their suites out, but said they didn't give their permission for the units to be occupied by the gang members police found there. I spoke to 2 landlords who went to court to get Lee out of their suites. They said they believed the units were being used by sex workers. I saw one of Lee's former tenants in court last week from his new home, which is North Fraser Pretrial Center. Jordy Angelo is charged with weapons offenses in relation to that stray bullet incident, which occurred in a unit in this building. We obtained a copy of a search warrant detailing that investigation, and it contains pictures of a bullet hole and a keyboard that was allegedly damaged by the stray bullet. Angelo was detained along with a 17-year-old female who was later handed over to the custody of her legal guardian. Now, according to the regulator's search warrant, Lee apologized and surrendered his real estate license when he was contacted about these allegations last March. Their investigation is still ongoing. Lee declined to speak with the CBC, and he said no, he wasn't interested in commenting. Jason Proctor, CBC News, Vancouver.
In Tofino, a Pride Month campaign is encouraging businesses to swap their bathroom signs for gender-neutral signage. Claire Palmer reports.
You might walk by without noticing at first, but in Tofino, some public bathrooms are making a subtle switch.
So changing out those kind of gendered washroom symbols with something like a toilet or a urinal, and also including information about other amenities, like if there's a changing table or if the washroom is wheelchair accessible.
Rogalski, who uses they-them pronouns, says it's a small way for a business to signal that they're safe for members of the 2S LGBTQ community.
How does it feel when I walk into spaces where there isn't a washroom for me? And it's really disheartening. It's not something that a lot of people think of if it's not your daily experience, but it really limits the amount of spaces that I'm able to enter or stay in comfortably.
Signs are available at Tourism Tofino visitor centers and at the Chamber of Commerce, and the project encourages local business to pick them up free of charge and swap the signs.
It's something that we can do to make people feel welcome, to be more inclusive, and to fight back against what's happening in the U.S.
This is a great first small step that businesses can take, and so to be able to partner on a project that gives very much direction, gives support, gives all the answers.
Tofino Brewery is one business that's agreed to be ambassadors for the program. The brewery has always had single-stall, gender-neutral bathrooms and says they want to encourage other businesses to do the same.
It is such a simple piece to the brewery that makes it such a welcoming space. We often get good feedback for how welcoming and easygoing it is, and I think that's just one of the elements that makes it that.
Rogalski also says that the signage goes beyond just helping the 2S LGBTQIA community.
You know, the fact that a family is being denoted by a man, a woman, and a baby. But families look like lots of different things. Queer people look lots of different ways.
The project will be running beyond Pride Month. Tofino's Pride Parade is scheduled for this weekend. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Tofino.
Darius Madavi joins us now with a look at our weather. And Darius, I see you have the fire danger map there, which I hear has actually improved.
Yes, quite a bit. Pretty much all through this week, we've seen nothing but oranges and reds and a few spots of yellow on this map. And now we've really seen a lot of green and blue being added, and that's largely because of the precipitation that we've seen in much of this area. A lot of it in the south did come with a lot of lightning, especially yesterday, but that rain does seem to have really helped, especially up in the northeast, where we have had those ongoing drought conditions. I do want to mention, still on the lookout for that rain, because we could see some issues associated with it. We'll talk more about that later in the show. But I just want to highlight the fact that this could be very temporary because those underlying drought conditions are there. I mean, this rain has doused that little tinder that we have on the forest floor, but we still have that underlying really dry material that could easily burn. So keeping a close eye on it, Janella.
All right. Thanks so much, Darius. We'll check back in with you in a little bit.
Thank you.
More black-legged ticks are showing up in BC earlier in the season and bringing disease risks with them. CBC's Johanna Wagstaff breaks down how climate change is helping them thrive.
Ticks. No one likes to see these little guys coming, but unfortunately, they're not just a summer problem anymore, and they're not just an Eastern Canada thing either. This year, you'll find them in more places, but not all ticks come with the same problems. Here's where to be on the lookout and what you need to know depending on where you live. So ticks used to hang out mainly in southern Ontario, but they're expanding their range, especially the black-legged, lime-carrying variety. Now, they're in almost every southern province. Thanks to climate change, these 8-legged arachnids, yes, they're cousins of spiders, are moving north and west fast, around 50 kilometers per year. Warmer winters mean more ticks survive the cold. Ideally, it stays above 4 degrees for them. So longer springs and falls give them extra time to feed and breed. One well-fed female can lay up to 3,000 eggs. Plus, their hitchhiking hosts, deer, mice, birds, they're moving north too. This year, Eastern Canada had a mild winter and a damp spring, basically perfect tick weather. In places like New Brunswick, researchers are finding huge numbers of ticks.
Depending where you are, the percentage of ticks that are infected, as you go further north, it can be as low as 15%. When you're the south, southern Ontario, southern Nova Scotia, middle of Nova Scotia, 70-80%. It's kind of appalling.
Okay, but here's the part that really gets me. They're basically crawling bags of pathogens. Lyme is the big one, but they can also spread other viruses too, sometimes multiple infections from just one bite. If you're in BC though, the picture is a little different. Ticks are on the rise, but Lyme rates have stayed low. Less than 1% of ticks tested carry that bacteria. That's partly thanks to different species, different hosts, and different vegetation here. It's a similar story across the southern prairies. Most ticks don't carry the virus, but numbers are climbing. So Canada doesn't track ticks nationally in real time, but apps like eTick show a clear spike in reports this year. It's not perfect data, but it's telling. People are noticing and uploading a lot. So what can you do? Stick to trails, wear long socks, check for ticks after you've been outside, especially on kids and dogs. And if you find a tick on you, basically a freckle with legs, don't panic. The tick usually needs to be attached for over 24 hours to transmit the disease. Use tweezers, grab the tick as close to your skin as possible and pull straight out. Clean the bite area, keep an eye on the bite site for rash or flu-like symptoms, and see a doctor if anything feels off. I leave you with very good news. One day soon, we hope to have a vaccine. Scientists are working on it. Until then, enjoy the outdoors, just be tick smart.
Point Grey will host thousands of triathletes this weekend when the T100 Triathlon World Tour makes its first ever stop in Vancouver. The headliner in Saturday's women's pro race, Canadian star Paula Finley.
There is a lot of pressure, especially as a Canadian racing in Canada. You can get really overwhelmed by that. And if I can just put together a really solid swim, bike, and run, I think I have a shot of being on the podium.
The race starts at Locarno Beach. Competitors swim 2 kilometers, cycle 80, and finish off with an 18-kilometer run. The Abbotsford Canucks are looking to make franchise history as they chase down the Calder Cup. Michelle Gomez has more ahead of the AHL finals.
It's the biggest prize in the American Hockey League. This year, the Abbotsford Canucks could take home the Calder Cup, but they have to beat the Charlotte Checkers first. Tickets to one BC game already sold out, and the community is buzzing. People are excited.
Go, Canucks, go!
Fans say the energy in the city is high. Seats are filled at games, people wearing jerseys and coming together to cheer on the team. And it's a milestone for the team. It's the first time Abbotsford has been in the finals since they formed in 2021.
To have the Abbey Canucks doing as well as they're doing, it's great, and everyone wants tickets. Everyone wants to be there. How do I get my tickets early? Where are you going to go watch the game? So it's just something we haven't had for so long.
Seeing the big wins come through, seeing the barn come alive, the sound and the excitement in the arena is like nothing I've seen this far.
This local hot dog vendor says the atmosphere in the arena has been electric.
The energy the whole playoffs as we progressed to each round was just, it's awesome. Like, I have to stay here slinging hot dogs most of the time, but I'll sneak out and I'll watch the game, but I also look around frontwards and backwards all around the arena to see the crowd and to see the smiles on the people's faces, and the community has just exploded.
The first 2 games of the best-of-7 series will be held in Charlotte, North Carolina, before the teams return to Abbotsford next Tuesday. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Abbotsford.
The Filipino community is gathering for a celebration after reeling from a horrifying tragedy. How event organizers are handling safety next. Pinoy Fest, the annual festival celebrating the Filipino community, returns to Swangard Stadium in Burnaby Saturday. The event comes with added significance this year, occurring 7 weeks after a car rammed into a group of people at Vancouver's Lapu Lapu Day Street Festival, killing 11 people. I spoke with Tanushi Bhatnagar about the preparations earlier.
Janella, I'm at the Swangard Stadium and talking to the organizers and the vendors and just the community here. Everyone is really excited to celebrate the Pinoy Festival tomorrow. The festival is coming after the Lapu Lapu Day Festival tragedy that happened, but it is after the 40-day mourning period that happened, that according to the Filipino culture and tradition is over now, and the community is just really, really excited to come together and and celebrate the culture tomorrow. And the organizers are expecting more than 30,000 people, and they're saying that the security measures are all in place, and they're very excited and very confident in the security that's in place. So here's what they had to say.
I want everyone to be safe. So that's why we are, like, with the support of the Burnaby RCMP and the presence of Vancouver Police and the Navy. I think I'm very much confident that we had everything that we need to be safe and secured in this event.
So what can people expect this weekend?
Yeah, so tomorrow there's going to be lots going on here. There's going to be a lot of food vendors. There's going to be a solidarity parade, and there's going to be a lot of performances from community members and people who are also not from the community right here at this big stage that's right behind me that says Pinoy Festival. And one of the vendors who is setting up stall for the very first time is going to be here, and they sell Filipino food, and they're really excited to be here and listen to what they had to say as well.
Are we still going to be doing this still after what happened? But if we stop, then they win, right? So I think it's just keep we should keep going. The Filipino community should be keep going, doing this kind of stuff.
Thank you, Tanushi. That's Tanushi Butnagar reporting. A crowd gathered in Vancouver today to shed light on missing and murdered Indigenous men, boys, and Two-Spirit people across the country. Michelle Morton shares some of their stories.
Dozens of people came out to honor loved ones they say have been lost due to systemic violence, racism, and neglect.
We're here to celebrate their lives, to honor them, because their lives matter. They mattered, and they still do matter today.
The group first gathering outside of the Vancouver Police Department at the foot of the Cambie Street Bridge.
Community members, loved ones, supporters gathering today for this march to shed a spotlight on missing and murdered Indigenous men, boys, and Two-Spirit people. Organizers of this march also say it's meant to advance reconciliation and justice for Indigenous people.
I believe that when we do come together in a good way, we walk in a good way, we come with good intentions, and this is how we build community.
It makes me feel warm inside, and my heart is a little bit full to see this, even though it's for a sad cause, right? But yeah, for people to come all over Turtle Island to come and spend time with us doing this, that's what it's all about.
Moments of silence, music, and smudging to honor victims and their loved ones. Some say they want to be here to help alleviate pain because they know what it's like.
Had a lot of friends and family, that were a part of, like being missing and being murdered. It's like my brother being one of them. And there's different stories about what happened with him.
Here today, a small crowd with a big message.
Walking in allyship with organizations like the Vancouver Police Department, we try to build a stronger bond and figure out how we address and we find solutions that really help uplift our people, be them women, be them boys, girls, men, two-spirited.
Michelle Morton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Bikes replacing skis as people head up to the mountain in Whistler this afternoon. A bit overcast and cloudy today. Your full provincial forecast is next. Iran has launched dozens of missiles at targets in Israel. It's in retaliation for Israel's biggest ever military attack against Iran. And it comes after Israeli airstrikes hit key nuclear facilities in Iran and killed some of the country's top military leaders. CBC's Chris Brown reports.
Missiles streaked over Tel Aviv Friday, and some Iranian projectiles appeared to breach Israel's air defenses, hitting buildings in a dramatic escalation. Israel had appeared in control all day, attacking Iranian military sites, including the residences of its nuclear scientists, killing them and their families. The Zionist regime made a grave mistake. It acted wrongly, and by God's will, the consequences will bring it to ruin, said Supreme Ruler Ali Khamenei.
More is on the way. The regime doesn't know what hit them. They don't know what will hit them.
Israel's prime minister said the planning took 6 months. Its intelligence services released a rare video of what it said were Mossad agents inside Iran taking out air defenses. In Tehran, people mourned the stunning assassinations of so many top military leaders. The dead included the chief of the armed forces and the head of the Revolutionary Guard. Protesters accused the U.S. and Western countries of betraying Iran for using weeks of what they said were sham nuclear talks to help Israel prepare.
What Israel aims, strategic aims, are not just to destroy Iran's nuclear program, but basically regime change in Iran itself. And that's why I think Iran faces an existential moment.
Israel's strikes included extensive damage to the Natanz facility used by Iran to enrich uranium that could have been potentially used to build a nuclear weapon. The UN's nuclear watchdog expressed alarm.
Nuclear facilities must never be attacked, regardless of the context or circumstances.
In Tel Aviv, a high-rise apartment building was gutted, with reports of wounded, along with other buildings hit and damaged in the suburbs. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Investigators have recovered the flight data recorder from the plane that crashed Thursday in India. More than 240 people were killed when the Boeing Dreamliner went down after takeoff. Salima Shivji reports.
The ambulances line up in the oppressive heat, one by one, gathering the remains of the still unidentified crash victims in yellow body bags, moving them to cold storage. The smell of loss lingers everywhere as families wait for news and hand over their DNA.
The brutal heat of the crash and its wreckage left many of the victims unrecognizable. Only a small handful of bodies have been returned to their families so they can begin to grieve. The rest need DNA test results in order to be identified.
For Imtiaz Ali Sayed, it's an excruciating wait. His brother, sister-in-law, and the couple's 2 young children were all on board the doomed flight, and he's struggling to process it.
I am not yet now, I am not imagining that he is dead. I am really seeing that from somewhere he will come and he will ask me that whether I am here for you.
Recovery efforts continue at the crash site where more than 240 people died, including Canadian dentist Nirali Patel, and the investigation is intensifying. One black box has been found. The flight data recorder holds crucial clues for investigators who are looking at possible issues with the aircraft's engine thrust and landing gear to figure out what led it here. India's prime minister got a look at the destruction the plane left behind the morning after the disaster and spoke with the lone survivor, the miracle man who somehow walked away from the crash. I saw people dying right in front of my eyes, Vishwash Kumar Ramesh told the national broadcaster. I can't believe I got out alive. A hole in the fuselage providing him an escape from the worst plane disaster India has seen in decades. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Ahmedabad, India.
When you think remote, you probably think about somewhere in Canada's far north, or maybe it's somewhere in Antarctica. But what if that place was somewhere a lot more watery? We take you to the most remote place on this planet next.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in the city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
So I know when I really like a song, if within the first 3 seconds, I'm already vibing to it.
Hey, I'm Rohith Joseph. Vibin' is the new show all about discovering great new songs and fresh artists from across BC and beyond.
It's not one person dictating what good music is, it's the community sharing what good music is.
Stream Vibin' on CBC Listen.
Pride season is underway in parts of the world, including here in Canada, with organizations and individuals celebrating the contributions of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, even amid an uptick in hate-filled rhetoric. When the Royal Canadian Air Force's online post spotlighting Pride was met with some negative comments, its members opted for a no-nonsense response. Benit Brach spoke with the director of RCAF Public Affairs about the strategy.
John, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Benny. Glad to be here.
Thank you. I'm just going to start by reading a couple of interactions from the RCAF Facebook page responding to your Pride Month post. So one commenter responded saying, "Stay out of politics," to which RCAF responded, "Copy that. Happy Pride Month, my friend." And when another commenter asked, "What does this have to do with politics?" RCAF responded, "Sometimes it's just easier to go along with these things." Another person replied to the Pride post, writing, "I would like RCAF to be more outspoken about men's mental health, but y'all are more concerned about Pride." RCAF responded, "We would be more outspoken about mental health if we had to fight through a chorus of people shouting us down." That post continues saying, "The community of folks following us barely react when we post about mental health, but they go nuts when we dare to celebrate a historically maligned and mistreated community." These responses, perhaps not the type that we would normally expect from the armed forces. Tell us why it's important for RCAF to approach things this way.
Well, it's nothing new, really. We've been very active in promoting Pride over a number of years, but we took the decision about 3 years ago when we made a post about Pride and the RCAF involvement in it, and we noticed that there was a bit of an uptake in commentary that was quite negative. And so we decided that hey, this is important. We are a very welcoming organization. We value diversity, inclusivity, because it makes us stronger. And so we don't really see it as a new type of strategy. In fact, I see it as a responsibility. And I say that from the position of a military leadership role.
And John,
we have people who are part of communities that get a lot of discrimination. And so we as leaders need to nip that in the bud, and we need to speak out on behalf of our members, the ones who may not have a voice. And social media is one way that we can do that. Very proud of the team that put together the responses. They were very thoughtful. And again, we didn't want to start anything major, so there was a bit of humor injected into some of them, making references to pop culture in a hope that we can just de-escalate any of the negative rhetoric.
And how do you think this communication strategy advances the RCAF's broader objectives?
That's a great question, because right now we have a number of key objectives going on. You're probably aware of the ongoing efforts to improve our culture. It's a work in progress, but we are making definite strides. You mentioned earlier talking about men's health. We talk about the mental health of all of our members on a regular basis, and we've put in place a number of resources where people can go to if they're experiencing any type of mental health issues. And the same goes for being accepting of people who are different. And it's been a long time coming, and it's going to take a little bit of effort and hard work, but we're willing to do that, because at the end of the day, our people are the ones who make us the organization that we are. Right. And it's even more important right now because, as you may or may not be aware, we are facing a recruiting shortage of trained people. And so we're always looking to make sure that Canadians know that they have a place within the Canadian Armed Forces, and speaking specifically for the Royal Canadian Air Force. We're doing what we can to try and attract Canadians of good character who have the right attitude and aptitude and outlook on life. who would make excellent members of the Canadian Armed Forces and the Royal Canadian Air Force in particular.
John, thank you so much for your time. That again is John Nethercott, who is the Director for the RCAF Public Affairs. Thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
The weather update is brought to you by BC Cancer Foundation. Support BC Cancer Foundation by leaving a gift in your will and join our 90-year legacy of driving life-saving innovations.
After much-needed rain Thursday night and more favorable weather ahead, the BC Wildfire Service says they are expecting the fire near Squamish to be declared held in the next couple of days. The Dryden Creek wildfire is nearly 60 hectares in size. More than 200 properties remain under evacuation alert. The fire is one of about 100 wildfires burning across the province right now. Doris Madavi joins us now with a look at some of that fire danger and weather across the province. Darius?
That's right. So a few things we're tracking. First, I'll mention the air quality statement up in the northeast there. A few places I want to zoom in on this map. The first one is outside of BC, but I do think it's worth noting. Over here, you can see we have a tornado warning over in Saskatchewan, tornado watch covering large parts of this corner of Alberta, and then many severe thunderstorm watches and warnings. These are the similar warnings to what we had here in BC, minus the tornadoes. Yesterday, the storms have mostly moved into Alberta, but we have also seen quite a bit of lightning, especially in the southeast corner of the province today. Really, it started this morning and has really continued through the afternoon. Most of it has moved off now, but the risk is not gone entirely, so I wanted to highlight that. We're also seeing more rain up in the northeast. A lot of that continues to feed in. I will note this is radar coverage, and we don't have great radar coverage up in northeastern BC. So what we are getting is from the Alberta radar, and you can see a bit of a cutout there from interference. But lots more rain moving in there. Decent amount expected by tomorrow. For the most part, it should taper off, but some showers may linger into Sunday. Why we're concerned about that is that all this rain coming in, well, start with the good news. The good news is fire danger has already started to come down. High stream flow advisories are in place for much of the interior, but no flood watches or warnings as of yet because of that rain that is coming down and moving into those lower basins. As you can see here, that fire danger has dropped significantly, as we talked about earlier in the show, but it's really just that tinder, that small woody material that can burn really fast that is improving. It's going to take a lot more rain to really improve those underlying drought conditions, that deeper duff and the big wooden material that can burn very easily. Because, again, very serious drought situation across much of the interior that has actually worsened because of that hot and dry weather we had last week. Now, in terms of precipitation for the rest of the province, again, more scattered showers possible for the interior, along with some thunderstorms over the next couple days. Here on the coast, other than the North Island, Central Coast, North Coast, which gets some rain with the next system rolling in this weekend. Here on the lower mainland, probably not going to see very much rain until, I would say, at the earliest next Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. Temperatures continue to climb, especially in the interior over the next couple days, keeping a close eye on that as well. In addition to the smoke, again, air quality advisories up in the northeast, although some pockets of the south will also see bad smoke conditions at times through the weekend, so be aware of that. And here's our 5-day forecast. Janella, tomorrow starts a bit cloudy, but then we get some mixed skies, more cloud. I'd say these days are trending cloudier, but we also get some sunshine.
All right, thanks so much, Darius. And before you leave us, guess what time it is? That's right. It's time for Fun Fact Friday. And Darius, you're going to tell us about the most remote place on Earth.
That's right. It's been a long time since we've done a Fun Fact Friday. So let me ask you a question, Janella. If we were on a boat together, where's the last place you would want me to leave you?
Oh, somewhere cold, probably. Not
Good
a huge
answer.
fan of
Yes.
that.
Okay, I've asked a few people this question. A bunch of people said that the last place they'd want to be dropped is the Bermuda Triangle down here, which I'd say is a superstitious answer, but, you know, not terrible. Maybe there'd be a hurricane or something. Other people answered like you, the cold. So down here in Antarctica, not a great place to be dropped. But let's leave aside the sharks, the superstition, and the cold for a second and just say, if I were to drop you somewhere in the ocean, you don't have to worry about temperature. Where would be the most difficult place for you to escape from? And that would be this point. We're zooming in very close here. This might look like nothing, and it basically is.
What is that?
Yeah, this is Point Nemo. It is the most remote place in the ocean. It's the answer to the longest swim problem, which basically means if I were to drop you somewhere in the ocean, where's the place where you'd have the most difficulty getting to land? And at Point Nemo, the closest land, there are 3 places, one up here in the Pitcairn Islands, one up here next to Easter Island, and down in Antarctica, an island off the coast of Antarctica, all of them almost 3,000 kilometers away, 2,688 kilometers to get to any of those points of land. It's a very remote place. It is so remote, in fact, that there is no reason for any marine or air traffic to go in this area, and the nearest regular routes are over 400 kilometers away, which means that many days, as the International Space Station flies overhead, the closest humans to Point Nemo are the astronauts on the International Space Station.
Interesting. I always learn from you, Darius. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, we learn how one artist is mapping sound to color. We'll tell you about synesthesia in a moment.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC inbox.
Check out CBC News BC, your local streaming channel. It's a free ad-supported TV channel available 24/7, delivering breaking news, weather updates, daily headlines, and sharing stories that matter to British Columbians. Stream your favorite CBC programs like The Early Edition, BC Today, and On the Coast. CBC News BC is available on connected TV platforms.
If you hear music, but you see colors and shapes, then you're among just 5% of the human population with a special neurological condition called synesthesia.
A local visual artist has it and uses it to translate music into colorful works of art. Danielle Piper has the story.
song has a lot of like turquoise and blue, and a lot of like shape-wise, there's a lot of like spherical kind of shapes happening.
Turquoise, blue spheres? It's not what you typically think of or even see in your head when you hear a song. But some people do see these things, and not by choice.
But her voice is a lot softer, so it's more of like a periwinkle blue kind of color. But the instrumentation is a lot harsher, like more saturated colors. And then her voice, it's also to do with the resonance.
Ciel Beau is one of those people. And it's because she has this pretty neat gift that's present in only a small part of the population.
Well, I have a condition called synesthesia, and so when I hear music, I see color and shape.
But when Ciel describes how she sees music, she often gets blank stares from people. The skepticism often dripping from their faces. But synesthesia isn't just some new thing. Researchers like Kathleen Akins at Simon Fraser University have been studying it for years.
It's usually when you have some organized set of things. They could be notes, they could be numbers, they could be letters. And when you see them or think of them or even hear them, you have an experience that has nothing to do with that modality.
Kathleen tells me that no one knows exactly what causes synesthesia. There are some theories, like an overconnection of certain areas of the brain, but not everyone agrees with that theory, and not everyone agrees on one specific cause. What researchers do agree with is that these experiences are involuntary. Those who have it tend to be very creative, and synesthetic experiences can be pretty overwhelming.
It can act as a real source of noise because if it doesn't align or your task is one where you want to go very quickly, then it could be very hard to suppress the noise, which is the color, the personality, while doing what you want to do quickly without thinking about those things.
With synesthesia, there are hundreds of types. Some might taste flavors when seeing specific shapes, or see colors when hearing music, like Ciel. These experiences first manifested in childhood. It just took her a long time to figure out what was really happening.
I was 22 when I first realized that I had synesthesia, and I think I always knew that I saw color when I heard music, and that experience was true for my whole life, but I just assumed that people didn't talk about it because it was just normal. It was just yeah, we're all experiencing this, so why would you bring it up kind of thing.
But it wasn't universal. A couple of years into her art degree, Ciel was asked to paint a piece to music. And so she did. The piece was so different from those of her peers that it left a deep and lasting impression.
And one of the people that was in that painting class with me came up to me and she had said, hey, over the summer, I learned about this thing called synesthesia, and I kept thinking about your painting, and I think that you might have synesthesia, which I thought was interesting that it stuck with her because nobody said anything at the time. And it took me 2 months to actually get around to looking it up because I kept forgetting the word, so I'd have to ask her again. And then I just also was busy with school, so I was yeah, whatever. And then when I actually looked it up, it was a kind of a light bulb moment. I was oh, there's a word for this experience? I just didn't realize that it wasn't universal.
Years later, Ciel is using this same technique at a new art exhibit called Endure Everything, where she asked the audience to bring headphones to the exhibition. When they walk in, they can use their phones to scan a QR code. The QR code takes you to her personal playlist, the same one she used to paint the pieces in the exhibition. And they just listen.
I find that people are oh, yeah, they're trying to read the painting almost as they're listening, and they're I think I understand why there's pink in there, or whatever, or this is exactly the colors that I don't have synesthesia, but if I did, this is how I feel it would look too. And I was that's great, just getting people to kind of connect more personally with the pieces.
Okay, so here's one example. It's a painting that Ciel did to the song Saturn by SZA. where she uses her sound to color synesthesia to translate sheet music of her favorite songs. So on the first line, there are these blank spaces that signify a rest in the music. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll let her explain it.
There's a part in the song where there's some backing vocals that she says something and then it kind of is floating in the background, and so I did them kind of as half lines, just so they're not as present as like the regular voice, but that there's a few spots where you've got this little half background voice kind of coming in.
Okay, but what about the harmonies? Songs have harmonies, right? Layers of vocals stacked on top of each other. How does that come in?
With this one, I tried that out where there's, 3 different notes happening at the same time, and you can kind of see where the harmonies are. And then some, interesting things, I guess, around here where it's like the harmony just goes down to 2 notes, and then there was no harmony for the melody, but then the harmony came back in.
But this method differs and often simplifies the images she sees in her head.
For sure, there's like a part in the song that's like at the very beginning, and it's like a synth, and that would definitely be like lots of little like bubbles and circles and things like that. This is also kind of a swirly song. There's certain types of sounds that are like really sharp and then they end up being more angular, and then other songs that tend to be like a lot rounder. And this song is very round. It's a very round song.
With her exhibition, Ciel wants to show people what it's like and to connect everyone through their different experiences. But ultimately, she hopes that her art helps them to understand synesthesia a little bit better.
Like, you wouldn't look at me and be like, oh, she has synesthesia, like, I have to tell you. So I think just knowing that all of our life experiences are, so unique, we all have different perspectives, and you never really know what someone else is experiencing.
For CBC Vancouver, I'm Danielle Piper.
Well, 5% of the population is pretty high, so just in case anybody's watching with taste synesthesia, I would love to know how the word synesthesia tastes. And my name, also. Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this on CBC Gem, YouTube, and our website.
I'll have your next local news at 11 o'clock. Good night.